Well, it's a pleasure to have with us Representative Mike Lawler, who is running for re-election. Mike, where are you? Long Island? What is your district?
Just north of New York City. So I have all of Rockland County, northern Westchester, just north of the Tappan Zee Bridge, all of Putnam County, and 3 towns in Dutchess County.
And it's a marginal district. It's a tough race, right?
No question. It's a district Joe Biden won by 10 points. It's home to the Clintons and George Soros. There's 80,000 more Democrats than Republicans, so by no means a Republican bastion.
Well, let's get into a few issues because I've gotten to know you, and you're a very important member of the House. For instance, you were one of the main sponsors of enhancing Secret Service protection for former President Trump and Vice President Harris. Isn't that correct? And how did that go?
Absolutely, and we just passed it last week, Mark, 405-0. As you well know, there's not many pieces of legislation that get unanimous support in Washington these days. And, obviously, I think everybody recognizes that our elections should be determined by votes at a ballot box and not by an assassin's bullet. And so after the first assassination attempt against President Trump, I introduced this bill along with Congressman Richie Torres, a progressive Democrat from the Bronx, to make sure that President Trump has the same level of Secret Service protection as President Biden. At the end of the day, especially in light of the second attack, the reality is that these threats are, unfortunately, numerous. And with Iran having a hit out on the former president, we need to do everything we can to ensure that the American people are the ones who decide who our next president is, and not some assassin or hired gun on behalf of a foreign government.
Don't you think it's a little odd, Mike? Don't you think it's a little odd that you need legislation to tell the administration? I mean, you're basically telling the president and the vice president, you're telling the DHS, the DOJ, you're telling Secret Service and so forth, hey, you got to do this and step up your game. Well, I mean, honestly, why would you even need legislation, especially after the first assassination attempt?
I couldn't agree with you more, Mark. And frankly, the fact that it took a second assassination attempt for the Secret Service to give former President Trump enhanced protection is insane. I mean, he was struck the first time, and but for a millimeter's difference and the grace of God, we'd be having a very different conversation. And obviously, America has endured numerous political assassinations of presidents and other leaders, and it is destructive to our country, to our constitutional republic. And I think it is so critical in this moment that the federal government and the administration spare no expense and do everything they can to ensure the safety and well-being of both President Trump and Vice President Harris, because one of them is going to be the president on January 20th, 2025. And it's absolutely unconscionable that this happened not once, but twice in the span of 2.5 months.
And you have been one of the leaders in fighting what's been going on in the streets of New York, but not just New York per se, other universities and so forth, with this this rampant anti-Semitism, right? And you've joined with others to do that, Democrats and Republicans.
No question. We introduced in the aftermath of the terrorist attack on Israel on October 7th and the rampant anti-Semitism we saw on universities across America, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which simply codifies President Trump's 2019 executive order requiring the Department of Education to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism and all of its contemporary examples for the purpose of Title VI violations of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And basically what we're trying to do is better define what anti-Semitism is and force the Department of Education to hold these universities and the administrators accountable for what we have seen break out on these campuses. I mean, you look at Columbia University and what President Shafiq allowed to happen in April and May. It was absolutely disgraceful. And I've now visited Columbia 3 times, including just last week we did a roundtable with students And they still feel unsafe, and they still feel that the administration, the new administration at Columbia, has not taken these threats seriously. And so it's incumbent on us as Congress, in which we send federal dollars to universities like Columbia, to hold them accountable and enforce the law. And if they're unwilling to do that, then to take action to strip them of those federal dollars.
Now, if people want to support you, they go to lawlerforcongress.com, LAWLER for Congress.com. You mentioned Richie Torres. This is an interesting gentleman. I've never spoken to him. I've never met him. I think he's a little fearful of me, Congressman, but that's okay. He represents a district in the Bronx. His district sides up against AOC's district, among others. He is a fairly reliable liberal, and yet he's pro-Israel, and he goes at it with the with the Talibs of the world and Omars and so forth and so on. What can you tell us about him and that?
Look, there's a handful of Democrats that I've worked closely with on these issues, specifically pertaining to Israel and combating anti-Semitism, and it's Richie Torres, Josh Gottheimer, and Jared Moskowitz. And the three of them have been staunch allies of Israel and strong defenders of Israel and combating anti-Semitism, and all of them come from different districts. Jared's from Florida, Josh is from northern New Jersey, Bergen County, and Richie, from the Bronx. And obviously, I think when...
But, Mike, let me just interrupt you here. But Torres is different because his constituency would not necessarily support his position. Maybe it would, but he comes from a place where over the decades you wouldn't expect this kind of support for the state of Israel, and yet he's out there. He's very brave about it. He's very honorable about it. Are you aware of any personal experience he had, or a belief system, or his faith, or what?
I think it's a core belief system, and as I've gotten to know him pretty well during my time in Congress and the work we've been able to do, starting with passing the special envoy for the Abraham Accords legislation, I think it's a core belief. And he, he's visited Israel. He does have a pocket of Jewish constituents in Riverdale in the Bronx. And so certainly has strong relationships.
Very
there.
Small.
But I think it's a core belief, and he believes in the importance of the U.S.-Israel relationship and our Judeo-Christian values, and I think that certainly has shown through. And in comparison to his neighboring district with AOC, who just last week was attacking Israel for having the temerity to take on terrorism. And go after Hezbollah, whose stated mission is to eradicate the state of Israel.
All right, let's circle back to your district. It's a close race. The Democrats are trying to knock you off. Tell us about your race.
So this district, as I mentioned earlier, is a district Biden won by 10 points. I feel very good about where we are. Every poll, internal, Democrat, Republican, has us up. But the Democrats are spending millions of dollars and trying, on New York City broadcasts, attacking me on everything from abortion to guns to Trump and so on. And, Social Security, Affordable Health Care Act, et cetera. And all of it lies. And they just continue to lie and mislead. My opponent, Mondaire Jones, was the third most progressive member of Congress in his one term. He supports defunding the police, cashless bail, Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, open borders. He called ICE agents racist and terrorists. He called police officers racist, white supremacists. He said he never wanted any support from law enforcement, PBA unions. And so, for a district like mine where 50% of households have a cop, a firefighter, a veteran or active duty military living in the household, these issues matter. And obviously we've seen what's gone on in New York. And so, my district is going to be one of those districts that really do determine the outcome of control of Congress. And, certainly my race matters if people want Speaker Johnson or they want Speaker Jeffries. And so, if folks want to join us in this fight, they can go to LawlerForCongress.com or text Mike to 85007. The Democrats have pledged to spend $45 million in New York. My race is estimated to cost about $40 million for one congressional.
Unbelievable.
All in. So we need everybody's help over the next 42 days.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's help Mike. He's as solid as you're going to get there, that's for sure. And we need to hold that seat. And I've gotten to know him, and I like him very, very much. Mike Lawler, God bless. Stay safe, my friend.
Thanks, Mark, and I hope you're feeling better. Take care.
Thank you very, very much. Take care.